Then, still speaking about Unit 1 Performance Workshop, this time we'll look at the Music Through the Years performance. Yep, same first question again. I just want you to tell me how you've used source material as a starting point for developing scenes and how you've interpreted your different research findings.
Yeah, well...
So you can link it to specific scenes if that makes it easier. So maybe looking at the opener of the piece, 1920s Gangsters, what you found for that in comparison to the 50s Hairspray, or you can just structure this however you want.
Yeah, well, when we were hit with this, when we found out what we had to do, it was straight away, you need to find out stuff you don't know. Because obviously you know what happens in the years that you've lived in that. It's just like the 50s, 60s, you want to find out the gangs and that, so you go and research your mobs and all that time, the music, what the clothes they wore, just stuff that went on in them times. That's the first thing you need to do. And then, obviously, you need to find out what you want to do, what's going to suit you as an actor, singer, dancer, whatever it is. So yeah, that's the main thing you want to do. But what else was there?
So let's take one of your specific scenes, so the Hairspray one, Corny Collins. What sort of things did you do to prepare yourself for that role, and how did you use any of your research specifically and directly into your piece? So did you watch?
I had to watch the
Did you watch Hairspray? Did you watch other people's interpretations of that?
Yeah.
Stuff
I've never seen that film before, so it was a challenge for me that, which is good. Obviously, everyone likes a challenge. I kept watching it over and over and over. Got the script, printed it off. Basically, just performed it to an audience. See what they thought of it. It's always good to get feedback, you see, from an audience.
So when you first performed your Corny Collins, was it similar to the recent film, or did you have your own idea about what this cheesy host would act like?
Yeah, well, what I did, I researched. There were a character I thought who was he has that suavity with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
He helps me with certain characters. Like the Pantomime did that. Jim Carrey inspired me with that, and this as well. It's just how he's just very cheesy. Not cheesy. I don't know what it is about him, but he gets that character across every time. So I thought I'd look into him, and I thought I could combine both characters. So I did that. But yeah, we did stage it differently than the real one, because obviously where we performed it, it was quite small, so there was quite a few dancers. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good what we did because it worked. Got some good feedback on that as well.
So when you were devising your scenes for Music Through the Years, how did you go about selecting and rejecting material for that? How did you find that sort of process? So let's look at another scene that you devised now. Within the disco scene, you worked with a H&D student, Tom, and Raheem, who's in level 3, and you had to come up with your own material for that. How did you go about doing that? Because that one was set in the 70s.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, we just went on our own, just obviously come up with something. What we did was we did it on time, synchronised sort of act. But it was different though because we've never really worked with the H&Ds before. Only once before, obviously, previous. But it's different, it was good. Because that's like a challenge as well, because they're more higher level than you. They obviously know more. It's just... It was good to come out of your comfort zone. Obviously, it's a bit awkward at first, and you're still getting to know each other, But yeah, it worked. We did...
How did you come up with the moves that you used within that piece?
Like day-to-day life things it was. It was... Obviously cheesy stuff, it always is, isn't it, for stage and that, yeah. But we timed it, had a look at each other, come up with some moves, what to do, and then performed it to an audience, and to see if we were on time. Well, we filmed ourselves as well, because obviously it's good to watch yourself back, see how you do it and improve on that.
Were there any moves that you originally came up with that didn't make the final edit?
I think there was, yeah. I think there was a spin. I think we were going to do. We were going to do a spin, but it was too hard to get it on time with everyone, so we thought we'd just strip that and just keep it.
So it was a timing issue that made you reject?
Yeah, definitely. It was too hard to do that.
Do you think you communicated the meaning of each scene that you were in to the audience? Because they varied quite, there were a vast gap between them. So you're sort of in the 40s, being a soldier off to war, and then not too long after, you're in a sort of 90s Manchester rave. How did you change as a character to make sure that you communicated the meaning to an audience?
Well, for me, obviously, the further back it is to the 50s, you just act more older, if you get what I mean. Because, I don't know, like, I think as the years have gone by, from research and hearing stories from people back in the day and that, having, like, method acting type thing, you know, meeting people and that, they all say, oh, it was nothing like back in the day and all this and that. So back in the day, what was it back in the day? Was it better? So what was better? So you change, you're more happier. Everyone doesn't seem as happy now because of the Manchester, it was drugs and that. Everyone's just changed. So you've got to think of yourself, how do I change as a person then? I go from happy to being proud in the army, to taking drug dancing, to what direction, you know. Stuff like that.
Did you find it, how did you find going through them emotions in such a fast time? Because one minute you were one of the Beatles, and then you were in the disco, and then you were in the miners' strike, and then the rave, and there were fast changes.
Yeah. I think the hardest one was where you've got to come off, and you've got 5 seconds to change what you are, go back on, and be someone else. Like from Corny Collins, it was a rock around the clock dance. You're out of breath and you don't have a clue what's going on. And the mic's thrown at you, you're on stage doing Corny Collins. That's a challenge because you've got to control your breathing. You've got to think about what character you are now on stage, and what you've got to think of the training you've done. You've researched all this stuff, and that comes into